Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Farscape Rewatch podcast. I am your host, CantWearHats, and joining me
is RedNightmare. Hello!
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a month now.
I guess we have, yeah, wow.
Yep.
Well, we hope you've been enjoying it, and we're not stopping here.
You're stuck with us.
Yeah.
Like, for the next year and a half. We're sorry. Not really sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Exactly.
But speaking of the future, this episode is indeed back and back and back to the future.
That's its actual title.
That's its actual title. A lot of the titles for the... I think I'm correct in remembering this bit of trivia, but a lot of the titles for the episodes were kind of fun placeholder titles that the scriptwriters have put in.
Mm-hmm.
And when they air, I don't think they have titles on the show.
No, I haven't seen them.
So when they had to put them on like DVD or whatever, they just used the placeholder titles that they had written down.
Which works way better.
So that's why you get some of the silly ones like this, back and back and back to the future. But it does involve sort of time travel. Yeah, kind of. We'll talk about that. But yeah, so why don't we get into it? And we start out with a ship disintegrating in space. Moya has come across this ship that is molecularly destabilizing.
It's doing weird turny swirly things with greeny lighty things.
Yes, I
It's
believe
probably
that
the best
is.
description.
I believe that is the technical term. Yes,
Yes, that probably is.
And of course, there's a distress signal coming out from people on board who actually look kind of a bit like Luxons. They have like tentacle heads and makeup prosthetics on that.
Like weird things that look a bit like beaks on their nose.
Yeah. So Moya agrees to bring the shuttle that sort of comes out of that ship as the ship explodes. They decide to bring it on board.
Yeah.
And retrieve the crew. And Crichton, Erin, and Dargo go and check it out.
Yeah, basically the shuttle has landed. Dargo and John run in, take out the two people who are on board, and then John runs back in saying, like, I'm going to check if there's anybody else left. And then he sees some weird green thingy and he gets shocked by that. We get a really fun cut where Dargo comes in and says, okay, there's nobody left aboard. Okay, there's nobody left aboard. Okay, there's nobody left aboard. With a very nice overlaying effect on it.
Somewhat, I think Dargo's CD is skipping. That's what's happening
It's like,
here.
Aboard. Smack! Okay, there we go.
go.
Just need to hit it a few times at the side.
Yeah, and then Crichton sort of clears his head and he says, yeah, I heard you the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So something weird is already going on, and we're off to a good start. And then, of course, the ship that they came from explodes! Oh no, not the shuttle, but the larger ship that was out in space disintegrating.
Basically, and Zan's like, there might be anybody else left, and then just goes...
Well...
And Bryce just like, well, not anymore. With a beautiful smug grin on the puppet.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Rigel does the smug grin very well.
Yeah.
So now we find out about who exactly these people are. There's two of them. There's a male and a female. There's a male named Varel and a female named Matala. And we find out that they're both of a species called the Elonics.
Mm-hmm.
And they were apparently doing some science.
Yep.
Doing science. It was
science in space.
It was a scientific apparatus that blew up, and as we know, that tends to happen with scientific apparatus.
Science is incredibly dangerous. I've lost many a friend to calibrations.
So once we find out that they're both Elonics, and they were on their way to rendezvous with someone, and immediately Dargo basically starts acting incredibly out of character.
Yeah, he's like incredibly helpful and incredibly friendly towards these two people.
He's bending over backwards to help them. He's, Dargo, who normally rebukes people's requests for help and, wants something out of them. And
actually, he is doing basically that when they find the ship, being like, no, we need to go away until he sees who's on board.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, that he doesn't want anything to do with it, and then, oh no, they're Elonics. Well then.
Because it turns out that Luxons and Elonics are apparently very close allies, even slightly genetically related.
Yeah, they're genetic cousins, I think he says.
Which does explain why they both have those weird tentacles for hair.
Yeah, when I saw them, because at this point the only Luxon we've really seen is Dargo.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, maybe the the female is a female Luxon because they look so similar, but the male Varel does look a little bit different. He's got kind of tentacles that come out the side of his head and go straight down rather than down the back of his head like Dargo, for example.
I mean, it could have been that Luxons, that's the same thing like having a different hair color, that their tentacles are all
exactly
in different spots.
So we find out, like we said, that they are a different species, so there you go. And they are very close allies with the Luxons, and they help them out with wars and things.
Which explains a bit of Dargo's response.
Yeah, but it's really out of character to see him being like, no, please, take everything, this ship is yours, and we don't want any payment, because Rigel, I agree with what Rigel's trying to do here, because he says, right, well, could you pay us?
That's like, I mean, if we're going to help you to the rendezvous, they're probably going to be very friendly. And I also like that the Alanics are like, yeah, sure. The Darker's like, no, we wouldn't want to impose, we're not doing it. It's like, they just said yes. Give him a discount. Give him a friendship discount. That's fine, Dargo. That's completely okay. You can sell that, but you guys need to survive yourselves.
But Dargo's like, it's what my character would do.
Oh, we're back to this one again.
Maybe. Right. Like, I can't help it. That scene in particular felt like Rigel is, the bard who's trying to negotiate for some form of payment, and whoever's playing Dargo has this backstory for the character, and it's like, no, this is what my character would do.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
And the rest of the
group, but
and the rest of the party is like, God damn it, really?
I can respect that, actually. I can respect that in a player. Also, there's a very tiny bit in this scene that I really liked, which really works way better as as this being a later episode in the series.
Yeah,
it's that Dargo actually vouches for Eren.
Yeah, he does, because as we've been saying in the past few episodes, some things were broadcast out of order. This episode, Back and Back to the Future, was broadcast third in the UK, and IET was broadcast fourth. So IET comes after this episode in the original UK air date, which doesn't really work, because in this episode, as we'll see, there's a lot of, like you said, Dargo vouches for Eren, and there's like this relationship between him and John, which is really not there in IET.
No.
So it doesn't make any sense. This, like you said, this works very well as episode 5. And
episode 5, I really like the Alanics. They're like, wait, no, we're not going to say anything to peacekeepers. And Dargo's like, she's one of us. You can trust her. Which I really liked. It's like, oh, we're at that point already. Good.
Yeah, we're 5 episodes in, and Eren has proved herself that she, is part of this crew and is not just another peacekeeper, basically. While this has been going on, John has been having something weird happen to him.
He's having sexy flashes.
Yeah, that's literally my notes. My notes say sexy visions.
Because
he has a flash. He has a flash where him and Matala, the female Ilanic, are kind of getting it on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fully clothed, but she's sort of moving her hands over him and like working down his butt. It's really kind of whoa,
creepy.
Yeah, and it comes out of nowhere, because it's like wham, suddenly vision, and oh god, there, and then it sort of flashes back, and Crichton's like, whoa, the hell just happened? And they're like, and Eren says, well, what's wrong? John's like, I need to go rest. I need to go lie down. Have a cold shower, maybe.
Like, I'll be in my bunk.
Basically. So,
it's probably nothing.
It's probably nothing. I wouldn't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. No. It's not like he got zapped with weird energy or anything. No. So then we have some more scenes between the Alanics and Dargo. We have a bit more of Dargo explaining his backstory, kind of, to Varel. And he says, I'm not just a Luxon, I'm a prisoner, I'm an escaped prisoner. But Varel says, well, I owe you my life. And he actually says, so what were you in prison for? Is it treason? And Dargo says, no, it's not treason.
And he tries to tell Varel what his crime was, and then Varel's like, then I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, he breaks him off after saying that it wasn't treason.
Yeah, so he would only really care if it was treason. Mm-hmm. I like that that's a little detail rather than I just flat out don't care about your crimes.
Yeah, it's like, look, there's a limit to what I care about. After that, it's like, fine.
Don't worry about it.
Your exile is probably enough punishment as it is.
And speaking of exile, he says that, well, okay, if you've been imprisoned for a while, and Dargo tells him it's been 8 cycles, then you probably don't know what's going on. And he's like, don't know. And we find out that the Alonics are at war with a race called the Scorvians.
Apparently long-standing enemies of the two people.
Yeah, they say it's been going on for about 3 cycles. And remember that basically a cycle is effectively a year, like it's the conversion to space measurements.
Yes.
And there will be more fake words. Wait and see. And the Luxons have gone, above and beyond their requirements to help out the Alonics and are really being good friends and allies.
Yeah, Varel says that the troops and everything they've been giving to help the Alonics has been far more than they had to, based on treaties.
Sounds like actually having a Luxon as your friend would be a really good thing, because it seems to be like a trait that if they are your friend, they will go above and beyond for you, because as we've seen, Dargo has gone out of his way to help these people without even knowing them at all. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a nice bit of backstory. So they're not just big angry barbarian people.
They're also very noble and
honorable.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Erin, because she is of course suspicious, because they would not really tell her what's inside the pod and what's going on, which is fair enough. She's wants to figure out who these strange people are. She's examining the pod that they came in, and then Matala appears and says,
and I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but can we just say that Matala is incredibly creepy? Like, from the get-go, the way she talks, the way she looks at people, and the music that underscores it is all very much screaming, "She's evil!"
Yeah, pretty much.
She's evil! Have you noticed that she's evil? Sorry, we forgot the neon sign, but just so you know, she's evil!
Yeah, it's pretty obviously set up. Yeah.
Actually, like I said, only a neon sign could have made it worse.
The other problem I had was that Matala her actress is not very good. There's not really a whole lot of subtlety in her performance.
No.
She's like, "Oh, I just wanted to help you."
Now that you mention it, I hadn't even noticed that. I feel that, yeah.
It was not. There was not a lot of nuance there.
No.
It was very obviously, "I'm kind of hiding something,"
which kind of works for the character, but also really doesn't.
No, I was not a fan of it.
She's actually, you're right. I hadn't picked up on that because for some reason I never pick up on that. But looking back at it, she's a bad actress.
I'm sorry, but it doesn't really work.
Sorry, you're very a lovely person, and I really hope that you've gotten a very good acting career and
since then
improved. But
it's not good.
Not your best performance.
It's kind of a shame, because Varel is perfectly well acted and has done pretty well.
I like Varel a lot.
He was really good, but Matala, no, sorry, really kind of hammy and over the top and just not very good.
Sorry.
But of course, Matala has appeared in the pod and tells Erin, you don't want to open that hatch. Don't look behind there. It's got loads of data in it. And
sensitive equipment.
Yeah.
We don't want to screw up our readings. It's like, fair.
But Erin's like, I think I want to look. But then Dargo turns up and Matala talks him into kicking her out. So he's like, of course he's being way too friendly to them and is like, all right, Erin, get out.
Oh, nice detail here. As she walks out, she shoves a scanner in Dargo's hands. And if you look closely, that's a scanner from IET they used to find the chlorium.
So she's looking for some kind of freaky element or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
I just like that they reused that prop. Hey, I know what that is.
But Erin's suspicions have not been allayed. She's still, heavily suspicious. She reckons, because the ship that they came from, it was actually a cruiser. It was a big ship, but it apparently only had the 2 of them on it. So she thinks that, well, that's a big ship to be doing scientific research on with just 2 people.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fair. I would agree with that.
Fair enough.
And then we have another sexy vision from Crichton.
Well, they're talking on the table. Crichton is having another sexy time. Yeah,
because we have, I think it's Crichton, Zan, and Erin are all talking together and finding things suspicious. And then John's just kind of daydreaming. It just looks like he's daydreaming sexy visions.
It's like, I'm sorry. What were you talking about?
And actually we have the line where Erin does not trust Matala, and also she seems to think that Matala is having an effect on the men, which, as far as we can see, is she actually says, okay, so here's the other fake word I was talking about. She's leading Dargo around by his mevonks.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah,
and
that was...
for those of you keeping score at home, mevonks are balls.
They're testicles.
My God. I mean, if you got to get things past the censors, that's one way to do it.
I mean, hey, it works.
But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty fair assumption because she's got Dargo wrapped around her little finger, and Crichton is having sexy flashes of her.
I like that Erin says, like, she's clearly having an effect on you, and then Crichton gets very defensive, like, no, that's BS. I mean, I don't think we're even compatible, are we? And as he walks out, having had another vision, Erin's like, what's wrong with him? And then Zan says something, and I'm like, that's cold, Zan. She says, like, he's Crichton. Like, ow.
Oh.
I had expected at this point that you've been a bit more sympathetic to him, but...
I mean, he's a nice guy, he's helpful, but from their point of view, he's completely crazy.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Now Dargo has gone to see Varel, and, well, he reveals that he has feelings for Matala.
Yeah, to Varel.
To Varel, yeah. He's like, do you want her? He's like, no, I couldn't. We have kind of a little bit of shy Dargo, where he's like, no, I couldn't possibly. And Varel says, no, go for it, dude. Like, yeah, she clearly wants you. She wants the D.
Oh, and I love that. Just as he said that, Matala suddenly she shows up on the other side. I'm like, how long have you been listening to this?
Yeah.
It doesn't get stated. I'm like, I think you've been there the whole time, haven't you?
And then we get cock-blocking Crichton.
Oh, that scans beautifully.
Yeah.
Oh, cock-blocking Crichton.
Because while Dargo and Matala are having this very close scene where they're, looking into each other's eyes, and then Crichton says, like, Dargo, can I talk to you?
For a moment,
please. And,
I love Dargo's response that he's like, friend Crichton, hello.
Friend Crichton, how good to see you.
Oh, was that what he was hinting at? I thought it was being just incredibly awkward.
I saw it as him saying that through clenched teeth of like, oh, it's my friend. Oh, go away. But Crichton is trying to figure out what's going on with the flashes, so he says to Dargo, like, do Elonics have pheromones? Like, do they have psychic powers that make you want to, have sex with them? And Dargo's like, you just fancy Matala, don't you?
You just back off.
Just back off, man.
She's mine. That's basically what he says.
And John's like, well, no, dude, I don't. I totally don't. And Dargo does not believe him.
No, he growls at him. It's like, back off. It's like, okay.
It's like, you stop thinking about her. And so Crichton's like, well, all right, this isn't helping. Then we have another vision. This time, it's not sexy times.
No.
It is Crichton talking to Erin, and she's asking where Dargo is. And, is he still acting like Varela Matala's servant?
Yeah.
Then we flash back to Crichton just where he was just now. So he gets up and walks away. And then in the corridor, Erin comes up to him and asks him where Dargo is.
And if he's still being the servant to Matala and
like,
Varel.
Oh.
And John's like,
oh no.
Oh no. I'm seeing the future.
Future.
And then Matala walks by and is like, I'm seeing the future. Oh, crap.
Yeah. Oh, and also, I want to mention, this episode also guest starring Claudia Black's abs, by the way.
Yeah! I was like, why is she wearing such a high top? Well, it doesn't seem like something...
She's basically wearing a crop top, but then... Like, she's clearly worked out and stuff.
I mean, it's not like incomplete washboard, but they're clearly there. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, she's been prepping for this role.
That's the other thing, is that it actually makes a ton of sense because she's a peacekeeper soldier, so you have to be physically fit for that.
And it, actually, thinking about it, I'm like, why is she wearing such a... She's a soldier. And then I was like, right, peacekeepers can't regulate their heat. So it's still like, that's the in-universe explanation for her wearing such a top.
But it kind of makes sense.
We know why she's wearing that.
Let's be honest, they're very much on display in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another flash of the future that Crichton sees, where he sees Dargo finding Varel dead.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
And then Matala shows up, and first stuns John, then breaks Dargo's neck, and then breaks John's neck.
Yeah, she kills both of them in the
And he flashes back and is like, oh god, I just felt that. It's like, it's not just a vision, he's feeling and acting it.
Yeah.
He's experiencing it.
Yeah, this isn't just a daydream.
No.
Like, narratively, this is great because previously it could just have been, like, pheromones or sexy flashes or, like... But he's just found out that it is, in fact, visions of the future. And then the next
because
vision...
he made a small jump.
Yeah, and then the next vision is, oh, something bad's gonna go down.
Uh-oh.
So then he realizes he's got to do something.
And then while he's sitting there, he's like, okay, I need to do something. We hear Metala scream.
Right, yeah.
We hear her scream. And then we cut to John trying to stop Dargo at the loading bay. It's like, don't go in there. What? Why not? Because she's gonna kill... She might actually already have killed Pharrell. Okay, don't. Dargo's like, seriously, you're stooping this low?
Yeah, he's like,
really?
You will say anything to get Metala for yourself, basically.
No, that's not what I'm doing. Listen to me. Use your ears or whatever. I don't know what you're using to listen to me. Just use it. I love that bit. It's like, I don't know what you're using, but use it.
Ears, tentacles, I don't know. And then Varel comes out of the room and says Metala actually just left with Eren.
Yeah.
They're going to go do some combat training together.
Yeah.
By the way, I like that in this scene we've just seen John and Dargo arguing, then Varel comes out. And turns out Dargo is carrying a tea tray with some tea on it for Varel.
Oh, thank you.
But then after this, Eren and Metala have gone to go do some combat training. And they're having a fight. They're having a scrap.
And, yeah. Can I just say, this is the most ridiculous fighting style I've ever seen.
Oh my god, space fighting.
I mean, I trained jiu-jitsu, like, twice a week, and I'm only a yellow belt at this point. I've barely had any training. But I can assure you this, I could easily kick their asses if they're doing this.
I mean,
like,
yeah, in that fight...
This is ridiculous.
It's that typical thing of like, okay, this is space, this is, aliens... We have to have a completely different fighting style.
Yeah, so they're waving their hands high around. It's like, no! Fighting styles are based on what a body can't do. If the physiology is the same, the fighting style will end up being the same.
Like, they're standing there with their sort of legs fairly close together, and they just raise their hands above their head.
That's like, you're putting your body weight way too high. Way easier to throw you around.
So, what I find is that, okay, that stance is ridiculous. Once they get fighting...
That's actually pretty good.
It's actually really good because, again, we actually do see a difference in that Metala is kind of, I think, a little bit more controlled.
Yeah, she's a bit more, with the risk of insulting Eren, graceful.
A little bit graceful. Well, yeah, because Eren pulls out things like a headbutt.
Yeah, which, by the way, wasn't necessary there at all. She didn't have to do a headbutt. That was showing off, but still, I like that.
But Eren seems to be a lot more brutal in her fighting style.
She's a lot more aggressive.
Yeah.
Which makes sense for her character.
Yeah, and actually, like I said, once that all starts happening, the fight scene is actually pretty okay.
Yeah.
But that flipping stupid...
Like,
that stance.
I mean... Exactly.
Eren knocks her down a couple of times, and then Metala knocks Eren down with a strange, weird strike, which is the same thing we saw in John's vision of the three fingers kind of pulled up above her head and then, like, whap down onto kind of like her... shoulder area, which knocks her out. It's like a stunning blow or something.
Stunning strike. Some sort of Vulcan nerve punch.
And then Metala just leaves after that. And he's like, thanks for the exercise.
See you, loser.
And then Zan finds her on the way out and it's like, okay, why did your ship really explode? Something's up here.
Yeah, we're getting anomalous readings.
Yeah, something's up with Moya. It sounds like Moya might be out of balance, which is how they refer to the problem with their ship. Is the phase was out of balance. It's
actually stupid because before that scene she asked Rigel, like, Rigel, you've been here the longest. Do you feel that Moya's different? It's like, nope, no, not at all. I'm like, you could have just asked Pilot. Like, that's kind of the person who's been here the longest, probably.
Yeah, I did like the bit with Rigel, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But the fact that...
Ask Pilot. Like, don't ask Rigel.
But then she says to Rigel, like, you know her sounds and all that. And actually, I like that bit of backstory that he's been on Moya the longest. Outside of Pilot.
If that's a setup for later, I actually approve of doing it this way.
Yeah. But yeah, Zahn is not buying it. She knows something's up. She's in tune with Moya, I think. And then Metala asks her about Crichton, but Zahn's like, no, he's a little too complex for you.
You're not going to figure that out while you're here.
What's the female version of Don't Stick Your Dick in Crazy? It's
Oh god, I hadn't realized that's what Zahn was meant.
basically.
Oh, I thought it was to protect John, but it's actually to protect Matala. Oh.
It's probably a bit of both. Actually, you're right. It probably is as much to protect John. In fact, it probably is more to protect John.
Yeah, because at this point, sounds like no, you stay away from that man.
You
like, not that I'm claiming him. It's just like I don't want to subject him to you.
I don't trust you as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So then Zahn, having got nothing out of Matala, goes to speak to Varel, who then says, "Well, the subsystem that it happened in on our ship, well, Leviathans don't have that, so you'll be fine."
Zahn's still like.
And then Crichton has gone to speak to Rigel, and then has another flash of the future, which is these are coming more frequently now, I think.
Yeah, and he's in the hangar bay. Varel is dead again. Dargo walks in. Interestingly, what I really like in this, it's a very nice detail, is that every time Dargo walks in, John's already there. Varel is dead with a knife in his back. Yet Dargo doesn't assume it was John. He doesn't straight go for his throat.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's.
What's going on?
Yeah, that's his response.
Well, yeah, because we have had that bond between the two of them.
Yeah.
He might suspect John of trying to get Matala, but he doesn't think John would just straight up kill Varel with no reason.
He has no reason to assume that.
I like that, and again, this is why this works better as a later episode, because you've seen that bond be built up between the two of them.
Yep.
So in the future vision, we found Varel is unconscious, Matala has attacks, and then he blocks the attack this time because he's ready for it, and then falls face first into Rigel's food in the present.
Yeah.
It's like
still gets punched and it's like, oh! And Zahn's also there and it's like, what's going on?
Meanwhile Varel has told Dargo the actual truth, and they were testing a weapon to help the Alanics win the war.
Yeah, it needs a containment field. But Moya's fine. There's no danger.
No danger. And then he says, Dargo, you can't tell anyone. Keep it a secret. So it's like, okay, Dargo, we know that these people are like Lux and blood relatives.
Blood allies.
Yeah, but that seems like an important thing, like that it's a weapon.
Yeah, like this sounds like something you should at least tell your friends.
Yeah. Again, he's kind of a bit out of character of like, this is really warping his perspective. So Crichton has explained to Zahn what's been happening. He's having visions of what he thinks are the future, and she says, well, you should try and alter the future then. He says, well, I kind of tried that.
It's like, I mean, I considered locking myself up, but then they'd probably still kill Varel, so that's not really a solution to the problem.
Yeah, because if he locks himself in his room, then he can't be a part of it, but her intent is still there and no one knows about it, and she'll find a way to do it.
It looks like he finds Varel already dead, so he won't end up finding him, but that's the only difference here.
But he wonders, well, why would she want to do that? I don't get it. And he drops a mask. He's been holding a kind of blue mask that is in Zahn's quarters, and he drops it, and it shatters. And Zahn's like, "Oh, that's okay."
Yeah, it's very clearly not okay, but she's being Zahn.
She's being sympathetic, yeah. Because John is very shaken at this point. He's kind of like, "I'm freaking out."
In this case, he's like, "Screw it, they're gonna have to talk to me." So he walks downstairs. He's looking for Varel at that point, but he finds Matala, and it's like, okay, you tell me what's going on. She's like, I don't know what you're... And he just, because he's seen what she's capable of, just grabs a piece of wood.
Yeah, there's like
stay back!
And then Dargo enters the room.
And immediately she drops to the floor like she's been hit.
Yeah, she's like...
very clever.
Yeah, very cunning. It's like, oh, he's attacked me, oh, help me.
He told me I had to pleasure him... Or otherwise he'd hurt me, and it's like, oh
no. And then Dargo stabs Crichton with his blade.
He skewers him.
So here's the thing, it's like we've said already that there's a bond between John and Dargo, and that, Dargo doesn't immediately suspect Crichton, which is why this feels a little bit wrong.
It's the fact that the scene is different. I mean, when he just sees the body with John there, it doesn't trigger. But the fact that Matala's on the ground, John is holding a piece of wood.
Well, yeah.
And the kicker is that she tells him that John wanted Matala to pleasure him. That's what triggers Dargo completely.
Well, yeah, but I find it a little bit much that he just straight up stabs John in the stomach.
Okay, yeah, fair.
I would have expected him to, like, knock John out.
Or just pull him up at gunpoint.
Pull a gun on him, yeah. But anyway, he stabs Crichton through the stomach, so that's the end of the show, right?
Yeah, he's dead. Well, that's it.
But,
he rewind back.
And also, at the end of that vision, Matala gets up and then kills Varel and Dargo with the same nerve strength thing. Yeah. But it then zaps back to John sitting in Zan's quarters holding the mask.
Which I actually like, because the mask falls backwards. It's like it becomes whole again, it goes back into his hand.
We have the reverse shot of that, yeah. And then we have the line again from Zan of, well, you should try changing the future. And he's like, I just did that. I tried that.
Breaks the mask again by squeezing it too hard. It's like,
oh dear. Because then, again, he's like, well, I felt that. I felt it.
It sounds like, I'll go talk to him. Like what? Give me a character reference? I felt the blade go through my gut.
And then Aaron comes in, and enter Aaron and guest star Claudia Black's abs again. Because this shot is kind of from John's point of view sitting down, so you're looking up. But then she has done a bit of her own detective work, and she's figured out that Matala is actually not Ilonic.
No.
She is, dun dun dun, a Scorpion. What? And she must have been surgically altered. Actually, she says it must have been genetic surgery.
Yeah, genetic surgery, she calls it.
So she's been altered to look like an Ilonic. And then we have the reveal of this is actually the future, and everyone else believes Crichton, because Crichton says, well, did you see the death strike? And then she's like, yeah, how did you know? It's like, I saw the future. Because the reason Aaron knows that...
I remember, because Zan says, Crichton's been saying that he's experiencing the future, and Aaron's response is, what, the future? He can barely function in the present.
It's like, oh, everyone's being mean to John today. Wow.
It's like, wow.
I need some ice for that burn.
Totally.
But yeah, Aaron has actually figured out from fighting Matala that she's not Ilonic.
Yeah, because she fights like a Scorpion, which I very like.
Yeah.
Detective work style.
And so they're like, oh, well, all right, you must actually be seeing the future then. And he says that he thinks that Dargo is in on the secret and knows what they were actually doing. And Aaron says, well, why don't you just go ask him? But Crichton says,
Try that, didn't work.
Yeah, Dargo is way too protective of the two Ilonics, so he won't tell us.
Okay, then we just storm in there and make them tell us what's going on. Nope, doesn't work either.
Yep. And Zan says, well, we should try separating them. And then Pilot gets on the comms and says, hey, you know that phase imbalance? That's the thing. Moya's got a phase imbalance, and it's getting worse. And
Zan's like, oh, in that case, we'll just ask Dargo to come up.
I think that's Erin's suggestion, yeah.
Actually.
She's like, okay, in that case, we can split them very easily. We'll tell Dargo to come and help out in command, and then go talk to them separately. One Ilonic will stay behind to watch the pod, and so you can split them up. While they're trying to get this set up, John is kind of stumbles across Dargo and Matala having a conversation, and he's hiding out the way so that they don't see him. And Dargo asks, why can't we tell the others? So this is good. I like this. Because what I said before, like Dargo would want to...
He'd like to inform the others, his friends.
Yeah, and he's not just blindly being like, all right, sure, sounds good. Which I like, because that gives Dargo a bit of intelligence, you know? And then Matala says, well, we can't trust them. And, you know, Dargo, hey, you should join up with us. Be a soldier for the Ilonic War.
Yeah, and this is very important reveal. Dargo's I can't. I'd love to, but I can't, because the actual crime I committed, not the one I've been telling these people, the actual crime, that would not work.
That's apparently the reveal.
Yeah, because Dargo has said that he's been locked up because he killed a superior officer.
Yeah.
Which is already pretty freaking bad.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently his actual crime is worse. Yeah. That superior officer is a lie.
Yeah, that is an entirely false, and apparently what he did was very bad.
Yeah.
And now John knows that, because he's been spying on this conversation.
We don't hear what the crime is.
No, we still don't know, because, again, this is setting up some intrigue, and the fact that I think if they just dump the whole thing right now...
Yeah, it's more interesting to have this reveal go slower in the series.
Leave that thread hanging for later. Yeah. It's like, we'll come back to that later.
I also, in this scene, there's a beautiful moment that Matala is like, look, there might be spies in here. And then Dargo's like, I assure you, there is no Scorpion spy on board this ship. It's like, oh, the irony in that statement, Dargo. Oh, I love that he's saying that he's absolutely certain that there is not a Scorpion spy on this ship.
So, Crichton has gone and found Varel and is asking him, well, okay, what were you really doing? What's going on here? We need to know what's up.
Yeah,
like, I know you're lying, and Matala is a Scorpion agent, And then he actually tells him that he's been seeing visions of the future, and, you know, what's all that about? And then we find out Varel knows what's going on, because he says it's temporal dislocation, and he must have been exposed to the thing they're actually doing, the quantum singularity.
AKA a black hole.
A black hole, which...
actually a piece of a black hole, they mention. I know, and this is where my rant starts.
Yeah!
I wore hats about this before we started recording.
Yeah.
I would be having a rant about this, and this is where we start having this rant, because this makes no freaking sense.
You can't have a piece of a black hole.
Even in theory, if you could, even if you had a tiny piece of a black hole, what a black hole is nothing more than an insane amount of density crammed, insane amount of mass crammed to an incredibly tiny point.
Well, okay, so a singularity, basically the dimensions of a singularity are such that any amount of mass, but contained within an infinitesimally small space.
Yeah, which means that gravitationally it's insane.
Well, okay, alright.
Well,
actual science fact time.
That was actually why I wanted to talk about this, because I know you have a better answer to this than me.
Actual science fact time. So, just by itself, a black hole is not any different gravitationally. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: if the sun turned into a black hole right now, we would continue to orbit in the exact same orbit that we have.
We'd all die because there's no sun.
We'd all die because there's no sun. Yeah, but it doesn't. Gravity doesn't increase when something becomes a black hole. What actually?
Because the mass doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's just the size that.
Yeah, the mass stays the same. But what happens is you can get closer and closer to the source of the gravity. So the force of gravity increases as you get closer, and you can get right up to it, so that the force of gravity is inescapable, basically.
Yes, the event horizon.
The event horizon, yeah, and beyond that, you can't escape the gravity.
Because even light at that point going out is pulled in faster than it's traveling outwards.
Yeah, the reason that works, because light doesn't have a mass, but what light does is it follows a straight line in space. It follows what are called geodesic curves, which is whatever the mathematical straight line is in local space-time. And in a black hole, that space-time is warped so much that that straight line just goes around and around and around and does not go away from the black hole. That's why light gets trapped even though it has no mass. Which
is also why it's called a black hole, because there's nothing there. There's no light coming off it, because any light that shines on it just gets trapped and never comes out.
Actually, black holes by themselves, we can detect black holes because they get an accretion disk of matter coming into it, which gets superheated and produces X-rays. And other stuff like that. So that's what you look for when you look for a black hole. But the point is that a black hole, it's the size of the actual black hole, not just the event horizon, is infinitesimally small, which means it cannot be divided.
You can't take a piece of it.
Yeah, you cannot divide that any further. So you can't just go in there with like a cake slice and cut a bit out and put it away. And
the effects it... Sorry, go ahead.
And also, okay, so you think, well, all right, maybe somehow through science fiction-y magic, they extracted matter from the black hole and kept it at that density. That's not a piece of a black hole. That's another black hole.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you could split a black hole in half and keep it at the same, infinitesimal density, you would have two black holes.
You'd just have two black holes of half the mass.
Exactly, which is also, you can't do that, but...
but yeah. But also it's like, and the other part is like, apparently a black hole is having these effects on John. It's like, no.
Okay, so...
Black holes have a lot of effect on time, I'll admit that, but they can't do this.
I mean, so the thing that they say is that the quantum singularity is part of a weapon that they're developing for the Elonic War.
Oh, I see what you're getting at.
So it's possible that the black hole is simply something like a power source?
Yeah, that could be the case.
And that these temporal... I mean, also it's science fiction, so I'll give them a bit of leeway with certain things. The phrase "a piece of a black hole" is really what I have issue with here. I mean, I think part of it is that they read up that black holes can affect time and just went with that.
Yeah, I think they went with that.
Because what is actually happening in a black hole is gravity affects your relative perception of time. So, like, the higher the gravity is,
the slower time moves.
Well, the slower you see time. Yeah, no, the slower time
from
moves.
The outside, time seems to be going slower.
Oh god, this always messes me up. Okay, so
yeah,
let me get the thought experiment. So it's if you were to watch somebody fall into a black hole, you standing outside the black hole would see their clocks start to run slower and slower until they basically freeze and get turn invisible because their light
doesn't escape.
It gets redshifted away into a spectrum that you can't see. So from the person falling into the black hole's point of view, the other person's clock starts to run faster, and then everything speeds up and just goes away.
Disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea.
So yeah, it's not technically the black hole itself, it's the fact that it warps gravity and therefore warps time around it. So yeah. So
it's if you want a very good depiction of what a black hole would do, I'd recommend watching an episode of Stargate.
Yes, 38 minutes, I think.
Oh, 38 minutes. Yeah, that actually, you're right. It's probably 38 minutes.
Didn't even have to look that up.
That's badass. I was gonna look it up, but Hatzel was already. Yeah, because in that one they accidentally open the Stargate to a planet with a black hole, and time just starts slowing down the closer they get to the gate.
Yeah,
which is, I mean, I really like that episode because of that.
Yeah,
that's basically what told me everything I know about black holes, and surprisingly, pretty accurate.
It's actually not bad. It's better than this episode, let's be honest,
Definitely.
in terms of its accuracy. But like, I'm willing to give it some leeway because it's sci-fi, Farscape. But anyway,
so far off, I actually have to deduct points for this. But anyway,
that's fair. No, that is fair. The fact that he says it's a piece of a black hole. And it's like, okay. We don't actually find out what the weapon really does, other than it uses a black hole and can affect time, so who knows. But Varel says it's the ultimate weapon, so it's got that going for it.
Yeah. Bring in endorsement.
And then, of course, in a refreshing change of pace, Matala attacks Crichton.
She shows up, like, aha!
What's that?
God damn it.
And then
not again.
He calls for Aaron, but then Matala knocks everyone the F out. Gets in the pod that they came in and tries to get away, and then Erin shoots it with her rifle as it lifts off, because then the weapon on board that just starts to go crazy and it blows up and destroys Moya.
Actually, what I think happens is that the black hole, the containment of the piece of the black hole fails. Right. And basically Moya gets sucked into it.
Yeah, because we have the CG shot from outside of Moya crumpling in on itself, so yeah. You're probably right.
Crumpling into infinitesimally small point.
Yeah, there you go.
And then John is back in Zant's chambers, and
and then we've just rewound that whole bit, and he's got the mask in hand again. And then she says, "Maybe you should try changing the future."
And actually, I love what he does next. Is that he pushes the box away that was close to him. He doesn't say anything. It's just his face is completely full of shock. He gently puts the mask on the ground, stands up and steps on the mask, breaking it. Yeah. And it's like, I really like that scene because, one, he's showing Zant how serious he is at this point. Like,
I'm not messing
Zant knows
around.
That's not something he would do, even though she thinks he's completely crazy. No. And two, John just got sucked into a black hole and remembers it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that does to a human mind.
So yeah, here's something I wanted to talk about in this episode, like from that, is that up till now, Crichton has been kind of out of his depth, but still relatively well adjusted. He's kind of trying to figure out what he's doing, and he's been a regular guy who's been going along with these crazy schemes. And if you are watching along and you are rewatching this Farscape, having watched it before, you'll probably be more familiar with Crichton being a little bit more unhinged and a little bit more kind of off the wall. And this is where we start to see that.
Which makes sense after experiencing that.
Yeah, he's starting to get a little bit crazier and a little bit more...
I mean, I can imagine he's died 3 times in this episode already.
Yeah.
Broken neck, sore through gut.
Sucked into a black hole.
Yeah, especially the last one. It's like... Spaghettifying is apparently incredibly painful.
That is spaghettifying as you fall into a black hole, you'll become stretched and stretched and stretched.
Yeah, because
the gravity...
molecules that are closer to the black hole get pulled in faster than the molecules that are further away from the black hole. So basically, your molecules are being torn apart.
Yeah, because the force of gravity is basically goes out radially, so the closer you get to something, the bigger the force is. The difference, at some point in falling into a black hole, the difference in gravity between your feet and your head, if you're falling in feet first, is such that it is, first of all, painful because they're being pulled in harder, and then it gets to the point where you start to disintegrate.
Also, interesting part, don't forget that we just mentioned that falling into a black hole basically means that at some point your clock goes slower and slower and slower. So that experience isn't contained to a single moment. It's stretched out.
Well, no. Here's the thing. You experience time...
Oh, right. Yeah, I forget. You experience time...
at the exact same rate.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. My mistake. Thank God for John.
Time is relative,
yes.
Basically. But yeah,
Thank God for John.
Yeah, and...
thank God for that, for John.
Yeah, so he's kind of getting a bit unhinged.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But, so he's like, right, okay... We're going to sort this out right now. And Aaron is...
I'm done.
And then John is basically shortcutting everything that people are trying to tell them.
Because he already knows. He's already heard it.
Yeah.
Violet, we know about the phase disimbalance. Yes, we know she's Scorpion Strike. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I've tried that. I think they should have won, but anyway.
And then he says, Dargo's the key to this, and we have to get Matala away and try something new. So Zan goes to Dargo and asks him to go speak with Rigel, who actually, other than a couple of scenes, hasn't really been in this episode very much.
He's just been eating.
Actually, yeah, the most of this episode...
That's exactly what he's been doing.
He's been... Because Dargo offered to give, the Ilanix a bunch of food, and Rigel was like, well, he's not getting my food, so he just starts eating all of it.
Also, he didn't finish all the food. It's like, okay, then I'm not making it go to waste. This makes sense, really. I agree with Rigel on this one.
So yeah, and Zan says Rigel has presented a bill for the Ilanix to charge them for all the food and stuff, and which is, it's not true, but it's very believable.
That's exactly what Rigel would do.
That's what I expect him to do.
I wouldn't be surprised if, despite this, he was actually thinking about that.
Yeah. So then he gets obviously very upset, Dargo does, and then goes with Zan to find Rigel, but instead Crichton and Aaron are waiting for him in command and break down what's been going on with the premonitions, but Dargo doesn't believe them and thinks they're just trying to separate him from the Ilanix and all that. And then Crichton, actually, I quite like this because Crichton says, I want to speak to Dargo alone.
Yeah, the lady, Zan and Aaron get out.
Yeah. So then Crichton reveals to Dargo that I saw a vision in the future where you tell Matala the crime you were imprisoned, that you say you're imprisoned for, is a lie, and that I know that there's something else going on.
I like that actually what he does is he doesn't say that he doesn't know what the real crime is. He just doesn't say it out loud.
Yeah.
He just says, I know that there's another crime that you've actually committed. And Dargo's face in this, the actor portraying him...
Yeah, Anthony Simcoe. Yeah.
Beautiful. Pure shock.
Yeah, and again, that's how Crichton convinces Dargo that, no, this is all true. It's like, this is something that only you know about, and how do I know about it? Because I've seen the future.
Yeah, you've never told me, you've never told anybody on this ship, and that's how I, from a different planet through a wormhole, know this.
And what I like about the scene is that even though John has been killed by Dargo in the future vision, and has been, growled at for trying to take his girl and all that stuff, he still respects Dargo enough to not out him in front of everybody else.
Yeah, he asked the other Zan and Aaron to leave.
Yeah, so he's
I really like that.
Yeah, he knows that it wasn't it's something that A, he was not supposed to hear, and B, that he got from the future. So it's, it's information, he can't unknow it, but he's not going to...
And he's going to use it, but he's not going to abuse it.
And so, yeah, he still very much respects Dargo enough to do that. I thought that was really good and shows, John's strength of character, that he's not going to blab to everybody.
Yeah.
Because he knows that Dargo is being kind of manipulated, I think. So he probably feels a bit sorry for him. It's like, okay, you're being strung along here.
Yeah, and he's really like, I'm very sorry that this is the case, but this is actually what's happening. So
Crichton has said that Matala is actually the real enemy here. Because once he's revealed that he's seen the future, he's like, she's a Scorpion spy, and, you should not trust her, and she's going to try and kill everybody, basically.
Yeah.
And then the Alanic cruiser that they were going to rendezvous with, which is where they've been taking them this whole time, has arrived. It's here.
Early,
a little bit early. Yeah.
Actually, a few errands early.
And we were saying a few arns early.
Arns early.
Yeah, which is hours.
Hours.
Yeah. And again, remember what we said earlier about Matala being very obviously evil? There's a scene where it's like, how long until the cruiser gets here? And she says, sooner than you think. It's like, oh my god, are you even trying to not be evil?
You're a horrible spy.
You're the worst spy in the freaking galaxy. It's like, sooner than you think. Jesus Christ. God. I'm not a fan of her character, to be perfectly honest. It's not very well done, I think. But the Alanic cruiser has arrived for the rendezvous, but very wisely they figure out that... And Dargo is actually very helpful in this scene, because they say, well, they might not be Alanics, they could just be Scorvians posing as Alanics, because apparently that's the thing that they do, as we've found out.
Especially because it could be... the outside of the ship could look like Alanic, but the inside could definitely be just full of Scorvians.
They said the outside could be Alanic, the inside could be Scorvian, just like Matala, they actually say, which I thought was nice. And so Dargo says that, okay, Alanics and Scorvians look nothing like each other, so if they don't make visual contact, then you know that they're
then you have your answer.
Yeah, and sure enough, when they send over a comms thing on the little holographic projector, and they say, we are having a comms malfunction, we can't make visual contact.
And it's like, Aaron's like, okay, give me manual control, I'll start dodging.
Yeah, because John's like, okay, can we starburst out of here? Pilot says, no, we don't have time, we can't outrun them normally, but Aaron is a good enough pilot to outmaneuver them.
Yeah, she can basically dodge the main gun.
Yeah, so then Dargo and Crichton confront Matala and Varel, and asking, who are you really, Matala? And Varel's like, what? No, what are you talking about? I don't get... And then she pulls a knife out and stabs him.
Actually, she holds him hostage.
Oh, right.
And she's like, okay, drop your gun, shove it towards me. And what I really like is that Dargo puts it down and shoves it to the side between two barrels. Like, I'll put it away, but I'm not giving you my gun and kill us all. Yeah,
I won't put it somewhere you can easily reach it.
Yeah.
Which is a good idea, although it bites him in the arse in a minute. Because then she realizes the jig is up, and she switches to what is apparently a Scorpion voice, which is like, you won't get me.
It's even more evil.
It's like,
itched.
Wow.
It's creepy. It's like, now I'm truly evil.
In case I wasn't obviously evil enough before. Subtle is not a word I would use to describe Matala. Then she attacks Crichton and Dargo and manages to get into the pod. Because she's been holding Varel hostage, and then that's when she stabs him.
Yeah, and she stabs him, grabs the research, and leaves.
Yeah, and she's trying to escape in the pod, and then she's got away in the pod, but Varel still has his remote control, and he's still got enough life in him to operate the hatch, which which is the containment unit for the black hole.
Yeah, and he just basically says... out. He basically self-destructs. Tries to self-destruct that thing.
Because when I say Dargo throwing his gun away, kind of bit him in the butt, it's because he then has to scrabble for it and can't easily reach the gun. And he's like spends an amount of time trying to root around behind some crates to get it.
And then he tries to shoot the shuttle, and John's like, no. I've seen what happens when we try to do that. Let's not. Yeah, I've seen this episode. It's not that good. Like,
so then he flies.
It's a rerun.
Yeah. So then Matala's flight out, and Varel activates the thing remotely.
And John's like, he looks to one side and then to the other, and is like, oh, pilot, I need Starburst right now.
Right now,
no,
Starburst.
I don't care what the risks are, just do it.
And so they do, and they just manage to get away in time as the pod explodes.
Well, actually, what happens is basically the pod implodes, and it also pulls the fake Alanic cruiser in as well, and it just goes...
So they all get crushed to death.
Yep, they basically get crushed into an infinitesimally small point.
Yep, that's gotta hurt. So, but the crew of Moya have got away. Sadly, Varel was actually killed by Matala, but the Scorpions didn't get the Alanic weapon, so That's all right.
And John apologizes to Dargo, like, I'm very sorry this all happened.
Yeah,
I should have seen it coming.
Yeah, also...
Cheeky asshole.
Also, apparently the visions have now stopped, that the black hole is not there. That's not explained.
I was going to say, and suddenly the visions... I'm assuming that the visions were as... the assumption I pulled from that is that the visions were there as long as the black hole existed. Or at least the weapon existed.
I think as long
which
as...
is now gone.
Yeah, as long as the containment that he was getting zapped by, or that he was in close proximity to the black... it's not explained, but the point is it's not there anymore. Yeah. So yeah, then Crichton goes to have some food, where Rigel has still just about finished eating.
Yeah.
He's been eating this entire episode.
And he's been the poor guy.
Yeah, the food binge and...
Yeah. When you start, you really can't stop, he says.
I love. There's a really funny bit where Crichton is feeling much more himself now, and he's talking to Rigel and is like kind of making fun of him. It's like, oh, and he takes a food cube. And it's like, food cube? You want a food cube?
Food cube. Ooh, food cube. Rigel just floats off.
It's just like, oh no,
no, please don't.
And then Dargo comes in, and we have another scene between Dargo and Crichton, and Dargo is. He feels bad that he got suckered in by this, and Crichton is trying to talk to him, but Dargo doesn't really want to talk about it, and so Crichton says, "What about your crime that you did?" And he says, "I don't want to talk about that either." Doesn't want to talk about his personal life. He says
pretty much.
But then, and Crichton's like, "All right, okay, well, I'm not going to push you," and but then Dargo says that. I'm sorry I fell for a female during a crisis, but it's been so long, basically.
And John's response is, "Now that I get."
Yep.
I totally get that.
You can understand that.
Yeah, he can relate to that.
And that's it. That's episode 5. That's Back and Back and Back to the Future.
Yeah.
What did we think?
I mean, I really like it as a Dargo episode.
Yep.
Because it really fleshes out his character. We get some other pieces of information as well from tiny bits of the other characters. Yeah. Apparently, as you said, this is where John's unhinged this starts.
Well, that's where this is the first episode where I've really sort of seen that start to happen. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think like the low point of the episode for me is definitely Matala.
Matala, and I'm sorry, the black hole.
Yeah,
I'm a science communication major. I'm very
Me too.
sorry.
Actually, I don't think we've talked about this. Both of us are science communication majors.
Fun fact, actually. Yeah.
My specialty was physics, and
mine is biology.
So,
I feel between the two of us, we've actually got a lot of Farscape science covered,
for better or for worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matala and the black hole. Like, I'm used to kind of. Sci-fi stuff not making sense, but a piece of a black hole is pretty egregious.
Make up your own stuff. If you make up your own, there's a lot of cool things you can think of. Go ahead. Even if they had stuck with quantum singularity, never calling it a black hole, I would have accepted it. Even though technically that is a black hole, but it's like
because then you need an extra level of knowledge to know that they mean a black hole. And so generally,
and then it's just a funny jab at it.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I had a problem with that, but I had more of a problem with Matala's obviously evil act,
and also very bad acting.
Yeah, kind of bad acting, unfortunately. But other than that, like Rigel didn't really do much. But
no, it's always a sad day when Rigel doesn't do much. But I mean, he got the last episode was mostly about him. So
I wonder as well, like Rigel and Pilot were both not in this episode a huge amount.
Nope.
I wonder if that was part of like cost saving in that they didn't have to do all the puppet work in that episode.
I could see that being the case. I mean, especially seeing how big the main cast of Farscape is, I'm actually quite okay if they rotate a bit. Like, this character is just there in the background. They're not part of the main plot this week.
Mm.
I mean, you could see that happening to Aaron or Zahn and Dargo at some point as well. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I thought the looping, the time loop plot is a good one, but I mean it's a plot we've seen before in science fiction quite a lot.
I mean, I hinted at this being the time loop episode.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, as I talked about the clone episode, I also mentioned that there's such a trope as time loop episode.
And this is it.
Partially already fit. I saw the title of this and I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's probably the time loop episode.
Yeah, like probably one of the most well-known ones is Cause and Effect from Star Trek Next Generation, which was made in 1992, and this was made in 1999.
Doesn't that one open with the Enterprise just exploding?
Yeah, that's the one with
that's a good opening.
That's the one where the Enterprise repeatedly explodes. So this is a pretty straightforward, a pretty standard plot.
Yeah.
But I think it's done pretty well, and
it's a good one. They did nice variations on
I think
it, especially because they all end with John dying, and he actually responds to that trauma like I would expect somebody to.
Yeah, he actually gets very shaken up by it. And
yeah.
The other thing I would say is the episode doesn't really start to come together until we realize that he's having visions of the future. So it's a bit of a slow start, but once it does start going, it's pretty good.
I feel there's enough there that the slow start isn't that bad.
Yeah. So I think overall I would say that's kind of, just a bit above average. It's not the best episode, it's not the worst episode, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
There are some things to complain about, some things nitpicky, some things not.
Yeah. No, I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and Farscapeworld.com's user reviews also agree with that. That's an average of 3, so it looks like
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. So not too bad, not the best, but pretty okay.
It's a very, very decent, passable episode. It gets the job done. It has some bits like.
And clearly, the standout part of this episode, though, were guest star Claudia Black's abs.
Yes, definitely. I think I'm really hoping they bring those back for
a future episode.
Future episode, because yeah.
Well, but speaking of future episodes, what have we got up next? It's episode 6. Thank God it's Friday again.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh no, not another time loop episode.
Okay. I'm not going to give too much away, but it's not another time loop episode. It's okay. It's fine.
Because that really would have been a perfect title for a time loop episode.
But yeah, we'll be doing that next week on the Farscape Rewatch podcast. And I think that this is the last time we will have to talk about things being out of order. Things are now in the correct order, no matter UK air date, US air date from here on out. So
good.
Everything's fine. But yeah, we'll be back next week with that. And thank you for listening. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by you, viewers like you. The Can't Wear Hats Patreon supports this podcast, along with all the other projects that I'm doing, streaming and videos and all that stuff. So you can find that on patreon.com/can'twearhats. And you can find all the other stuff on youtube.com/can'twearhats for the other episodes. And you can find both of us on Twitter. I am at CantWearHats on Twitter, and Red is at Verdolkin in Tree.
Yes.
Hooray. And so if you have any comments about the episode, let us know. And yeah.
Yeah, we'll be back next week.
We will be back next week with Thank God It's Friday again. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Farscape Rewatch podcast, episode 5, Back and Back and Back to the Future. I'm CantWearHats, and joining me is RedNightmare.
Oh no, not again.
Oh dear.